Okay, Atlas Cables was established 20 years ago, 1999. 1999. And we are based in a small city called Kilmarnock in Scotland, which is about 20 miles southwest of Glasgow. And Atlas, the whole philosophy behind Atlas is to manufacture a cable that can get the signal from one end to the other without adding anything to the audio frequency spectrum. So as clean as possible with as little noise as possible. And 20 years ago, we found a cable, a material called OCC copper that is our preferred material. OCC copper has certain elements to it and certain things that are very unique. And one of the unique things is the crystalline structure is very, very long and very pure. So it doesn't have any impurities or any boundaries on the outside of the cable. So it means that there's very little loss. The problem with OCC is that it doesn't like what's called post-processing. So it doesn't like to be reheated. So you have got to be very careful about the dielectric you put onto the cable, but also the connections for the cable itself. So 20 years ago, we also designed our own plugs, which rather than being soldered to the conductor and the dielectric or earth, we cold weld the connections, which is much more consistent and also means that anyone can do it. We chose OCC copper because of its purity and also because of the way it's manufactured. OCC is manufactured very, very slowly, almost millimetre by millimetre at a time, and it's cooled very slowly, so it gives you a much better crystalline structure for the copper, so there's less impurities. So that's why we chose it. So we use OCC copper in all of our analog cables, and we also use OCC silver in our high-end ASIMI and ASIMI Lux interconnect cable and loudspeaker cable. Grun means ground, and what we discovered was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago was by having a better return or a better shielding made a big difference to the sonic performance of not only analog interconnect cables, digital cables and loudspeaker cables, because it reduces the noise going into the preamplifier and noise going from power amplifier into loudspeakers. So basically how Grun works is that we take the return or the shield of the plug and have a separate wire. So we disconnect it from the plug and connect it to this piece here. And this can then, on a separate wire, go to either mains or to the 0 volt on a preamplifier or power amplifier. So you reduce noise, which gives you more music, more information. The reason, yes, it is. The reason that we manufacture our own plugs and design our own plugs is because of the copper, OCC. So what we do is we make sure that the plug is the same material as the conductor. So if it's an OCC conductor, it's an OCC plug. And by crimping it, it gives you much more consistency on the cable. So that's why we design and manufacture our own plugs. I think personally how you define a good cable is something that's very neutral and it doesn't add anything or take anything away from the signal. So we want to get the signal from one end to the other as quickly as possible, but also not adding anything to the audio spectrum. Other companies do different things in how they manufacture the cables. We like to think that we are a material engineering company. So the reason that we use these materials is because we have researched very highly all the properties of the material so that it gives you consistency and there is no black magic. It's engineering. I'm not saying using exotic materials is wrong. For some manufacturers, that's what they think is important. From Atlas's point of view, we want something that is sustainable and can actually be sourced readily and used. So we don't use exotic materials because that's not who we are. We design everything from the conductor, the dielectric, and the plug. So for us, that's engineering. And it also means that when we do different demonstrations between different cables, we can explain to the customer why that difference the difference that he hears can be explained with engineering and science, not mumbo jumbo. I think lots of things make a difference in a system. And I think the basic thing that you, as a customer, need to do is find a good dealer who will demonstrate the differences that cables make over tables, over isolation feet, all these different things, because that gives you a base. You've got to have a platform to build upon. So all of these things make a difference. Whether it's better or whether it's worse, you need to listen and make up your own mind. A subjective question. I think yes, everything makes a difference to the system. But for a music lover, they want to listen to the music rather than the products. So it's very important they find someone who can demonstrate competence, experience, and also the ability to make a better sound by doing simple things. Setting things up properly and setting things up so that it's very stable and consistent. We do a power strip. It's not a conditioner. It is made from the same cable that is inside the mains cable of our EOS 4DD mains cable or power cable. And you can have it as a filtered or unfiltered power block. We also do HDMI cables, optical cables, and we are now doing USB cables for people who listen from their PC or Apple Macs. And we also do headphone cables, high-end headphone cables that are bespoke for the customer's headphone and preamplifier.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to meet
My
you.
pleasure.